God has placed you where you are on purpose with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that purpose is rooted in your community.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that God won't elevate somebody to have that kind of national change? No, absolutely. I think we've seen that before. By and large, that's not every one of us, right? So instead of worrying about all these things that we cannot change, what if we as the church just decided we're going to focus on changing our community?
Yeah.
We're going to change our homes. We're going to change our schools. We're going to change our workplaces. We're going to change our restaurants. We're going to, we're going to make an impact here where we live now. And I think that was the idea, right? You can change your community by rolling up your sleeve and making a real impact on people's lives.
Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we deep dive into Sunday's message and explore your questions. I'm your host, Astin Kahnk, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. Whether you're a longtime member of The Orchard or a first-time visitor, Let's Talk About That is your space to explore, reflect, and connect. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of faith, spirituality, and daily life, seeking to understand how the wisdom shared on Sundays can be applied to our modern challenges. So, grab a cup of coffee, find a comfortable space, and let's dive in together. This is Let's Talk About That, where the conversation about Sunday's message never stops. Well, welcome back to Let's Talk About That, episode 100.
Episode 100. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. That's from us recording in front of a live studio audience for this episode.
Yes.
Not the people cheering, just Trey sitting on the couch over there.
Thanks,
How you doing, Trey?
Shout out, Trey.
I don't know if you could hear that, but it was a very enthusiastic, hey guys.
Yes, he's very excited.
Anyway, it is a Monday.
It is a Monday.
It's an exciting Monday.
Because it's an exciting Monday because we have our gift card winner.
Yeah, we do.
Chip.
Yeah, we do. And no, this is you. This is you, Astin. I'm going to let you reveal this winner because I'm not so sure it wasn't insider trading.
It absolutely was not. Chris set up the wheel. All I did was click the wheel.
Okay.
Promise.
All right, that's fine. I'll watch the video because it was recorded, correct?
It was, yes. It was a real recording. But yes, the winner is Miss Brittany Bethay McCrae.
Brittany, your good friend, Bethay McCrae.
No, I'm not going. As I was reading, I was like, Brittany Bethay. And I was like, oh, that's not her real name. It's Brittany McCrae, but I'm used to Brittany Bethay. So yeah, she was our gift card winner, $100 Chick-fil-A gift card winner.
You know what? I hope my boy Will get some of that.
Yeah, and a hat. Maybe we'll get the hat.
Oh, the hat's nice.
The hat's legit.
I love the hat. I love the hat. Those are extremely limited quantity.
Yeah.
As best I understand, there are now 4 of those. Chris has one, I have one, you have one, and now
Brittany or
Will have one.
Yeah. Congratulations. But no, I really enjoyed reading all the comments. It was so fun to kind of see where people are listening from and what their favorite episodes are.
Yeah, I think that was fun to look back on, and Momcast got several shout outs on there. I love the Momcast episodes, and really, before this podcast started, that was like where we started our podcasting journey.
Really,
Mary Beth and a group of moms doing the Momcast, talking about things. So that was a lot of fun. That was good times.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I started listening. Oh man, just maybe a handful of months ago, and I think it was season 2. I just started listening to season 1, but it was season 2 and it was a Momcast one. And I really enjoyed those, just hearing how different moms, do motherhood, different seasons of life. It was really cool and just encouraging to hear that, what I'm going through, these moms went through as well with their kids.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, very cool. So another big celebration we had was yesterday at our harvest celebration, our 18th birthday, which is super exciting.
That was really a cool moment because if you've been at the Orchard and you've come to a harvest celebration before, it was different this year. We moved where we do the harvest celebration, not from a different address, just to a different place on the Barnes farm. And I thought it worked out great. Besides working out great, I think it was super necessary because there were so many people.
Yeah, there was a lot of people.
Up. There were a lot of people that showed up. And it was incredible. Like, we knew that the church has been growing this last year. As best we can tell, between 29 and 40% growth over the last 6 months to a year. And it's been really incredible to see. But then to see that affirmed by so many more people and so many new faces at the harvest celebration was really cool. Even if it was a little bit of a struggle for me personally. And here's what I mean, because I talked to a couple people about this, right? So I am the lead pastor at the Orchard. I'm the location pastor currently, in Lake City. And as I found myself there last night, I didn't know everybody there by a long shot.
Okay.
And that was like a weird thing for me because like, I know that, like, I know that I don't know everybody in our church, right?
Yeah.
We have been averaging, right around, let's say 1,200 people on Sundays across our 3 locations. I can't know that many people.
Yeah.
Like, even if I tried, I couldn't know that many people. But then when you have your harvest celebration, that's kind of the people who are like, hey, I'm connected enough. Like, I'm showing up to visit and hang out. When I don't even know all those people, I was like, golly. But the more I thought about that, I wrestled with it a little bit. Number one, I think it's healthy because we talk about this a lot, that in any church, and specifically our church, does not need to be built on personality.
Yeah.
Like if I get hit by a bus, fall off a cliff, the orchard keeps going, right? If one of our location pastors hits by a bus, fall off a cliff, the orchard keeps going.
Yeah.
Because those connections aren't just like unilateral one person connections. They're connected in that web of relationships, which I think is super healthy.
Yeah.
And then number two, I think it's healthy because it means the church is growing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the church is growing, new people are coming, and it was good to see. It just seemed like everybody like felt at home.
Oh yeah.
Felt that community, but it was. And I want to talk about some more stuff from that being our 18th harvest celebration in a minute. But for you've been at the orchard before. You've served at the orchard before. That was your first harvest celebration.
It was. I was actually just about to say that. Yeah, my first one. And then the first one, obviously, for my family. We moved back. God, it's already been 2 months, which is crazy. But just being back and seeing, some of the people that helped start Southridge that are now at Branford or Live Oak, it was so good to reconnect. But on the way home last night, I was asking my husband, Brandon, it's his first harvest celebration, first time back in, Lake City. And I should say first time back. It's his first time ever living in Lake City. And I asked him, I was like, so what did you think of the harvest celebration? And the first thing he said was a big family. He's like, I didn't really know a whole lot of people, but I left knowing a lot more people and feeling more connected. Because obviously he serves now with the band, but he was able to meet, some people I was friends with in high school. And now he's like, okay, now I know who that person is that you've talked about for so long. Did he
get that tea from the people you went to high school with, Astin?
Oh yeah, so much tea.
They were spilling the tea out there?
So much tea to spill. But yeah, no, he said, yeah, it's truly like a family. And that was really cool to, hear him say that, because I've always felt that way about the orchard. No matter what location you go to, it does feel like your home. You can call it home because people truly care about the people in the congregation and their community as well. So it's just such a fun night watching the kids on the bounce houses and delicious food. And
did you try the chicken that the Barnes made?
I didn't. I just did the pulled pork. So it was like in and out with the kiddos grabbing
They
food.
do chicken and pork, and oh my gosh, they know how to throw down on that smoker. It was great.
It was delicious.
And then did you count how many dessert tables we had?
No, I'm like speechless. The dessert just kept coming and coming. And I literally couldn't decide what to eat. I was like overwhelmed. So I went with a delicious, I think it was like a peach cobbler. Whoever made that, shout out, delicious. And then I had some cookies, because you can't go wrong with cookies.
Yeah. I had somebody actually special deliver me some cookies on Sunday morning that they were bringing Sunday evening.
Wow.
Because they want to make sure I got some, because they were banana pudding cookies.
Oh, that was really kind.
They were phenomenal. Did you try the banana pudding cookies, Trey? Yeah. I didn't eat till I got home, but and I also had somebody, actually they brought pies. Okay. And they made me like a small, like serving size pie.
Oh my gosh, it was so kind.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice. I felt seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But there was one of the dessert tables towards the back as we're doing the business session. I'm looking over at it, and the table is legitimately bowing.
Stop.
Legitimately, the table was like caving towards the middle. And I was like,
that's a good table.
This is wild.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen a table bow because of desserts.
Yeah. But man, these ladies in our church and men came, like, they set the bar very high for future harvest celebrations.
Yeah, they were throwing down. So do you have any favorite moments from last night?
I do. So our staff was helping serve. And once we were done serving, I really wanted to just kind of spend some time, one-on-one time with my son, Jax. He's about to be 4. And a lot of the time, with me and 4-month-old baby, Lucy's usually attached to me.
Lucy gets your time.
She does. And so last night, it was such a blessing to have a church friend willing to hold her so I could go play with Jack. So we were throwing the footballs in the little 3 different holes or whatever. And Jax thought it was so cool, because I'm not to toot my own horn, but I got quite a few in the
kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. And he was like, Mom, you're really good. And so to have that one-on-one time with him that I, sometimes don't get at events was super nice because I had a friend who was willing to hold my baby for me. So it was awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah. What about you?
I definitely had one moment that stood out to me last night, and it wasn't a moment that I got to personally experience, but what happens is a lady who attends one of our locations, she came up to me. Actually, now that I'm remembering, I was walking past her and she grabbed me and stopped me. She's like, hey, I know you're really busy tonight, but I have to tell you. She said, we went to this church, not, an Orchard church. We went to this church for 40 years. I'll just say it was an unhealthy situation. I have no problem saying that. I think everybody who knows of the situation would say it was an unhealthy situation. It was an unhealthy situation. We went to that church for 40 years. She said, tonight is the first time that I have ever, number one, actually been given a budget to look at so I know where church finances are going. And then number two, it was the first time I've ever had pastors and church staff actually serve me.
Wow.
So she said going through the line, she was like tearing up because it was our staff who was serving her.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of stood out to me because I think here at the Orchard, that's like just ingrained into our culture. But maybe it's a good reminder that isn't the culture everywhere. And so we can appreciate it a little bit more here. And knowing that, our staff is not made to serve. Like, we ask our staff, hey, we want to serve the meal. Nobody's like, oh man, I don't want to I
didn't hear people on our
grumble.
Staff,
they enjoy it. They get to see people. They love, doing that. And, and that was a good moment, for me. The other one was after our business meeting, which is like our once a year business meeting. Right. And we approved the budget, and the budget is like, on one sheet of paper. If you've not been there, haven't seen it, it's on one sheet of paper. It's very, very, very simplified. A lady comes up to me immediately afterwards. She says, hey, I hate to bother you, but I have a question about the budget. And I was like, sure. She goes, I am actually in finance for my career, and I just have a couple of questions like about some of these numbers and what they mean and how that operates. And so I said, all right, I'll answer best I can. And Michael, I saw Michael over there, executive pastor. I was like, hey, let me actually introduce you to Michael. And, Michael said, hey, yeah, sure, whatever questions you have, and was walking through that with her. And so to me, I think that's like a cool moment where it's like, you haven't been coming very long. That's fine. If this is your church home and you have questions, like, absolutely, we can take the time and walk through and answer it. Like, when we simplify it, it's just for sake of time and because most people don't have those questions, but most people don't work in finance. So those were two moments I thought were really cool that are kind of the heart behind the Harvest Celebration. Is it's a chance for us to be a family, for us to serve, to really be transparent, in what we do. So I did love that. And then I guess we did have a special moment last night that, I don't know, to everybody else may not seem as special, but I think it was for me particularly because it was our church's 18th birthday.
Yeah.
And we also talked about Pastor Eddie, our founding pastor, and the transition that he's making.
Yeah.
So what we said is, when Eddie started the Orchard, he told Michael, I've got about 10 years to give confidently. Well, we are well past that.
Way.
Right. When he and I transitioned the lead pastor role, that was obviously kind of like a big milestone moment, not just in our church and for me personally, but also I think for Eddie personally, because it's the first time he's never not been the lead pastor at the church that he was at. And that was a massive moment because it kind of began him starting to step back away from that lead role. And then eventually, to be able to slow down a little bit, spend more time with family, Miss Beth. But immediately after not being the lead pastor, the then new lead pastor, me, was like, hey man, you want to go launch the location in Brantford for us? And so it's been a 3-year sprint for Eddie doing that. And he's transitioning away from being now the location pastor of Brantford to really just being our founding pastor. And for a lot of people, that's kind of hard maybe to get their head around. Like, what does that mean? What does founding pastor do? But to me, it was a full circle moment because back when we began the talk of transition, when Eddie approached me and I began praying about it, and then, came back a year later and said, yeah, I think that's what we want to do. We had a mutual friend, one that Eddie introduced me to, who we talked with through it. And what he saw, was just something very natural. He thought it was a good move. And he said, Eddie, you're not leaving the orchard. What if a church is supposed to be a family? The church may be, getting a new father figure, but you don't disappear. You just become the grandfather.
Yeah.
And I think for whatever reason, that just really stuck with me and Eddie and just made a ton of sense because he's my pastor. He's my mentor.
Absolutely.
And so that's how I see, Eddie. And so last night to get to kind of talk about, hey, we're 18 years old. We're grown. And the best part about having grown kids is that you get to be a grandparent.
Yeah.
Right. And so really just getting to say, hey, this is what Eddie's going to be for us as a founding pastors. He's going to be the orchard grandpa, where he's going to, and again, very clearly full-time ministry. Like he's still full-time.
Absolutely.
On staff.
Yeah.
He's going to be preaching. He's going to be leading Bible studies. He's going to be helping us with our content. He's going to be mentoring and discipling some of our young leaders. Like there's a lot he's going to be doing for us. But he gets to do it like a grandpa, because the grandparents, they get to do all the fun stuff with the grandkids. They don't got to do any of the stuff they don't want to do. They send them home for that, you know?
Yep.
And so I don't know, that was a special moment for me to really get to see Eddie hopefully enjoy that grandpa phase of being pastor at the orchard, where, hey, he ain't got to do the stuff that, comes with the day-to-day operations of the church. He gets to do the stuff that he enjoys doing.
Yeah.
That is also very important for us as a church and we need as a young church. And so I do think that transition, seeing him, be able to really embrace that role that was a big deal for me. And I'm excited about it, what that looks like in the next year.
Yeah, I loved having that moment and you explaining that because, there are a lot of new faces and, if they see Eddie, they may not know who he is and the important role that he has for starting our church. So I love just getting to see him up there and you shared the story. That was really cool.
Well, as he came up with his apron on and his plastic gloves because he was serving.
Yep. I love it. So 18th birthday. I know you mentioned our church is now an adult, which is kind of how this whole Impact Tomorrow initiative kind of started, which is where our vision series has started of, in order for us to grow farther, I messed that up, grow further to grow our deep root. Oh my gosh, help me out, Chip.
In order to extend our reach, we got to strengthen our base.
That right there.
Or
I've not had enough coffee today.
Fruit.
You got to get deeper roots.
Yeah, that too.
That was what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah. So this past Sunday, we had our final week 3 of our vision series, and we talked about just what it means to serve the church. And I loved how last night, us as leadership got to do that. So the phrase that you used yesterday for this sermon was actually called going from a critic to a catalyst. Yeah. So if someone... which, by the way, can we pause and appreciate the alliteration? Okay, literally on my notes, I said, please, I was like, alliterate, talk about the alliteration. So thank you. Yeah. I mean, but so the first week was growing in worship, right? And that was from consumer to cultivator, CC, right? Yep.
Growing in our relationships from commuter to community.
Love it.
CC, right? And then now in our serving from critic to catalyst.
Yes.
You know why? Because Eddie Blaylock is my pastor and my mentor.
And he loves alliteration.
He loves alliteration. So
we had to honor Eddie.
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. So help me kind of explain this to the listener. What does it mean to go from a critic to a catalyst? Well, I think that the idea starts with the fact that we live in a world of criticism, right? Like criticism is a career. Now, people make their living off of social media or YouTube or talk television or talk radio or podcast, where all they are is critics of everything else that's happening. But the problem with criticism is, though critics like to talk, very rarely do they actually do anything, accomplish anything, produce anything. And I don't want to discount the need for criticism. Like, I believe criticism is helpful. It's important. In the right way, it is a tool that helps our growth, but not this culture of criticism that we live in that is focused on, I know all the answers. I can point out all the problems, but I'm not going to do anything to address them. And I think that a concern I have is seeing how the church has really shifted into the role, not of a prophet to the culture, but simply a critic of the culture. And again, not that it's wrong to be critical of the culture, but it seems like the church is content to
sit in a dark room and complain that nobody's turning the lights on.
Yeah.
You know, well, brother, get up and turn the lights on, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we say, let's move from being critics to catalyst, because I believe that the church is God's chosen catalyst for change inside of the world.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so here's what I mean when I say that, because if you are a theology nerd like I am, there is a eschatological view of the end that says the world's just going to get better and better and better until we make this heaven on earth. Okay. I don't share that view. So when I say that the church is God's catalyst for change in the world, that's not what I'm saying, that the church is just going to grow and the world's going to get better, better, better. Boom. We're at heaven on earth, right? What I'm saying is I do believe that because of sin in the world, that the world is most likely going to continue to deteriorate and decay until Jesus comes to right every wrong and set up his kingdom here on earth. However, as the church in the world, we are to be ambassadors for the kingdom, and in the community of our church have outposts of the kingdom, embassies of the kingdom here and now. We are to bring the change of the kingdom to our communities. And that is not, you know, in my mind, setting up a theocratic nation, you know, like Islam is, where, hey, our goal is to rule the governments and make sure that our religion rules the government. I don't think that's the idea here. I think the idea here is that we are to be living embodiments of the kingdom we belong to in our world, and thereby bring change.
Yeah.
And so the church, we're not just called to be critics sitting in a dark room complaining that nobody will turn on the light. We're the ones that are supposed to get up and turn on the light.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good example. Yeah. You talked about on Sunday how, you know, we're called to be, you know, basically those ambassadors in our kingdom. And the best way we can do that is being the ambassadors here in our church.
Yeah.
So thinking through.
Well, I think, so what I said, and I said it very specifically because I thought through how I wanted to say it. And what I said, just so I can get even more angry emails, is let's stop focusing on changing our nation.
Yeah.
Actually, let's stop worrying about changing our nation. Let's start focusing on changing our communities.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know some people probably heard that and it's like, well, our nation, you know, look, I get it. There are problems. I have things I would fix. At the end of the day, that's not what God's called you to do. And that's not who God has called you to be. Because God has placed you where you are on purpose with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that purpose is rooted in your community. Yeah. Now, does that mean that God does, you know, that God won't elevate somebody to have that kind of national change? No, absolutely. I think we've seen that before. By and large, that's not every one of us, right? So instead of worrying about all these things that we cannot change, what if we as the church just decided we're going to focus on changing our community? Yeah. We're going to change our homes. We're going to change our schools. We're going to change our workplaces. We're going to change our restaurants. We're going to, you know, we're going to make an impact here where we live now. And I think that was the idea, right? You can't be a catalyst for change for the nation. All you're doing is complaining on Facebook and posting memes, right? Yeah. You can change your community by rolling up your sleeve and making a real impact on people's lives.
Yeah. No, that's so good. So our topic yesterday was serving, you know, serving the church. What does that look like? And when you were talking about serving, it immediately makes me think about when I was 26 years old, moving away from Lake City, a community that I had known my entire life, and then moving to Omaha and not really knowing a whole lot of people. And I know that serving was a way I was able to get connected and meet people. I was able to jump into, I think it was like basically greeters at one church, and then it was kids at another church. But I was able to truly understand the DNA of that church through the people that were serving at that church.
Yeah, I think you really do get that sense of when you see people doing something and not just talking about it, it makes an impact, you know, because sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, a lot of times it's easy for talk to take the place of do everywhere. And that's in the church too. Yeah. But when you are actively serving with people, seeing them serve, I do think you get that deeper sense of connection with them. And to me, that's why these 3 steps from worship, relationship, serving, they're not disconnected from one another, right? Like the way that we become a community is because we are serving together. We are shoulder to shoulder, you know, like I'm not sure that I know of any guy who wants to come to church to sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we're out serving together, okay, now I can make relationships with these guys. I can connect. We can, get to know one another. And so 100%, I think serving is a key part of that community. And it's a part of that church's message to the broader community.
Yeah.
When they see the church is, hey, here for the community, here for Lake City, here for Live Oak, here for Brantford, here for Omaha. You know, like we are here for the community.
Yeah. No, and then going back to what you're saying about the critics, I remember early on when we were starting the church plant in Bennington, we were growing at a rapid pace, and we would have these serving team members that would come and serve. Well, there were a couple Sundays to where our kid to teacher ratio was getting high, and we had to start shutting down classrooms. And we had parents complaining. And the best thing our kids director said was, well, where are you serving right now? And I think for some of the parents too, it was like, oh, wow, I can help fix that problem by serving as well. And so I think that was kind of, an eye-opening for our church of, instead of complaining, let's help fix that. Like, God's given me a gift of loving kids. Come and be in your kids' class one day a week where you can see all the amazing things, because let's be real, it's not babysitting. Church is happening with those kids 100%. And they're able to see Jesus, in the fact that like you get to be that person to help that next kid see Jesus. I think that was kind of I wouldn't say a wake up call, but an invitation for these parents of, if I want to be able to, attend church, it's like, let me come and help watch kids, so another parent can also be able to be attentive in that service. And I can also let my kids see me teaching other kids about Jesus.
I think that's so spot on. And really, that's where we ultimately got to in our message yesterday. And, the part of the vision of where we're going next year is next year, we're going to be moving at all 3 locations toward adding a third service. Mm-hmm. And, I'll say a third service, and Brantford a second service, a new service at all of our locations. And the reason why is to accommodate the growth and the people that are coming. And one of the things I said is, if it was just about taking care of the people who are here, we're stretched thin, but we got that covered.
For sure, yeah.
But if it's about reaching new people.
Exactly.
And making sure that they have a place to get connected, just like we had a place to get connected, then we need other folks to step up and begin serving, to be that person in the kids' classroom. Yeah. To be that person in the sound booth, to be that person in the parking lot. And we can't ask the people who are already doing that to do it again. No, it's got to come with people who are like, no, I'm ready for me personally to take that step. Yeah. Like, I'm ready to take my step so that I can do that for somebody else. Yeah. And that's also part of a healthy culture, right? That's how we build community. That's who we want to be. Is we don't want to come to a church to be served. We want to come to a church to serve. Absolutely. You know, and to love on others because we want them to experience what we have. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like too, when you get to be the tangible hands and feet of Jesus within your church, I feel like it just, to me, I've always just found so much joy in getting to serve those people. And I know it's not for everyone, but when you step into that role, it's like God just shows you how much of blessing you can be to others when, you know, roles were reversed. You were that new person. You had that person saying hello to you. How are you? It's like you get to now be that for someone new. And especially, you know, Impact Tomorrow, we're going to have new people coming. So the fact that we're getting to invite people into that, I think is awesome, because there's just something about serving that is just so special, especially when you see a group of people. You know, we have some teams that have been serving, since the very, very beginning. And every time you ask them, they're like, it's so much fun to serve. They found their community. They found their friends. I mean, it's so much more than just, you know, handing a cup of coffee. It's like you get to be that small glimpse of Jesus to someone new who maybe has had a really rough day and is maybe just coming back to church for the first time. Like, you get to be that for someone else. That's right. And, you know, without a doubt, the people who are the most connected at our church are the people who serve. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. You know, so if you're saying I just have a hard time getting connected, you're probably not going to feel that way if you're serving. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think, Astin, when you talk about, you know, the people coming in through Impact Tomorrow, I think that goes beyond, okay, we don't just want to serve and bring change in our church. We want to serve and bring change in our communities as well, so that people can see Jesus. And I get the idea that people think in order to do that, they need to be this amazing Christian apologist who can defend the faith against skeptics, or they need to be this, deeply insightful Christian counselor, or a theologian who can answer all the questions. I don't believe that to be the case at all. I think that if you want to see your community change, you need to live intentionally through serving, pointing people to Jesus. But one of the biggest tools in your tool belt is to just be a person. Be
Absolutely.
A normal person.
Yeah.
And I don't mean normal in the sense that we have brokenness in our lives like other people. No, we're followers of Jesus and we're looking for him to fix brokenness in our life.
Yeah.
But you don't got to be weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be this weird, better than everybody, have all the answers. That's not what people are looking for.
Yeah.
They're looking for genuine followers of Jesus who point them to Jesus.
Yeah.
If we have people who can take that step, living intentionally, following Jesus, being a normal dude, a normal person, you're going to see change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So talking about Christians being Christians, yesterday in Lake City, you were kind of talking about Acts 19 and, Paul's time in that area. And I've been a follower of Jesus for 18 years. I've read the book before, but the way that you kind of like described it was just a cool way of showing just Christians being Christians. So if someone wasn't at Lake City, they missed out on that. Can you break that down for them?
Yeah. So I actually was able to talk about that in the video.
Oh, okay, cool.
Everywhere, not as much in depth because I was trying to leave room for Robert and Matt, in their locations. But the idea is that Paul in Ephesus begins to share the gospel and people get saved. He takes a group of disciples and begins to meet publicly in the lecture hall of Tyrannus. And they meet for 2 years. And then over the course of those 2 years, we read in Acts 19 that those who had believed began confessing and disclosing their practices, and ultimately took all these pagan worship acts, worship items, books of magic, and burned them. And it was a massive value. But what stood out to me, what I hit on in Lake City was, number one, I think we misunderstand the role of change in the life of the believer, because sometimes I feel like we think we have to change before we can become a believer. We've got to change our life before we follow Jesus. We've got to clean up our life before I can come to church. And I think that is a misunderstanding of the gospel. Like, there's not a prerequisite to faith in Jesus other than turning from your sin and turning to him.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Change does happen in a believer from the inside out, but it is Jesus who brings that change about in us after we believe, after salvation. And that's what we see in Ephesus. And so what happened there is, because there was this group of believers who were worshipers of the pagan god Artemis that began changing the way they worship, the way they live, the practices of their life. What we see is a ripple effect to begin to come in the city as more and more people follow Jesus. Because the city was built on the Artemis temple and the worship there, the economy of the city begins to collapse, because simply Christians are being Christians.
Yeah.
They're following Jesus. Jesus is changing them into his image, and we begin to see that change. And so my point that I made for our purposes yesterday was, I believe when Christians just live like Christians, and we allow Jesus to change us through his word and his spirit living in us, then the community around us changes as well.
Yeah.
When we live that change, when we allow him to change us. And so I think that's what I said is like, hey, Christians just living like Christians bring change.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Yeah. So I thought it was really special on Sunday in the Lake City. You talked about your AM daddy, and you talked about.
Okay. A-N.
Oh, A-N.
Yeah. And the reason why is because I couldn't say grand.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. I don't know why. Yeah. I literally put am.
Well, maybe because I've been like a little snotty the last few days, and
That
so I'm
could
not
be.
enunciating.
Correction.
Clearly.
And daddy. Yeah.
Dirty buddy.
I know my mom was like, what? I was like, I have no idea what that means.
I'm not going to say it on podcast.
No. Yeah. So you just said that you're, when you decided to be, you felt the calling to be a pastor, and daddy gave you some advice that really stuck with you as a pastor. And so, he mentioned that there are three kinds of people in the church.
Yeah.
There are those that will, there are those that won't, and those that won't let anybody.
Yeah.
If they're, for the person that wasn't in Lake City, what does that mean? What does that phrase mean? Like, how have you been able to use that? Or like, why has that stuck with you?
Yeah, well, I think that stuck with me, one, because you don't have to be in churches long to see the truth of that, right? There are those who are willing to do whatever. There are those who are content just to kind of sit on the sidelines, but they're not going to be an obstacle. They're just not going to sign up, get involved, whatever. And then there's a group of people in, I won't say every church, because I don't know that we have a big group of them in our church, but there are people, a group of people in most churches whose goal is just to maintain the status quo. Like, we just don't want anybody to do anything other than what we're doing right now. And their job is not to just not participate in change. Their job is to actively stop it, you know? And I think you see that pretty quickly inside of the church world. I think the reason that it stood out to me is really understanding that what the church needs for change is not just to get rid of the people who won't let anybody, so to speak. Because if you do that, then you might still have a room full of people who won't. What the church needs to bring change is people who will. Yeah. Right? Just people who will, who put their yes on the table and say, you know what, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to see people come to know Jesus, to see the church be relevant, to see the community be impacted. Yeah. And I think that what we mean when we say that is not people who are going to blindly follow, you know, anything and everything. What I mean is that people whose heart is more about seeing people reached than what it takes to reach them. Yeah. You know, I'll only reach them if it fits within my box of what that looks like, or if they look like me or smell like me or drive like me or whatever. You know? And so I think, you know, just I use that on Sunday in the videos and in person to say, you know, what would it look like if our church just decided we were going to be people who will? And then just imagining the change. Like, so we had maybe between 500 and 600 people at the Harvest Celebration last night. That's half of whoever shows up on a Sunday. Yeah. If you count all the people who call the Orchard home and who come fairly regularly, I bet that number's going to be closer to 1,800 people. Imagine what 1,800 people could do in North Central Florida. Yeah. Like, we would be the biggest group of people in North Central Florida, you know, and just committed to, we will be people who bring change. Yeah. We will be people who show that change is possible, that change is inevitable, that the way things aren't the way that they have to be. We will be people who point others to Jesus. We will be people who live out what it means to be his followers, you know. And I just think that there's so much power in understanding, man, if the church just decides we're going to be people who will. Yeah. Everything can change. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited for thinking about people who will. You know, this coming Sunday is going to be Impact Sunday. So, man, it's almost like we planned it that way. I know. It's crazy. But I was literally thinking about that. You know, just the different, you know, here in the Lake City location, we're serving breakfast to different locations. We're doing service projects. And I'm like, man, for just every person that's going to be out there, like, we get to go bless our community. We get to go be the hands and feet of Jesus to our community. And I think it's such a beautiful display of that. Just getting to show people that we are, like you said, normal people who just love Jesus. And so I'm just so excited I think in Lake City, we easily have over 100 people that are going to be helping on Impact Sunday. So just 100 people going out and just, you know, giving of their time and their resources and their, just themselves to go bless our community. It's such a cool way. I'm excited to see what the ripple effect of that's going to be. Yeah, because I think that, you know, we started this last year and we've seen a ripple effect from that in the sense that there were a lot of people. All right, let me say it this way. I'm not sure that how many people we, quote, served ever wound up coming to the church once, twice, much less still coming to this day. Yeah. The ripple effect we saw are people who were followers of Jesus or curious about following Jesus who were like, I want in on that. Yeah. I want to be a part of that. I want to be part of a church that's willing to do something, to change something. And you know, and then the other side of that is just seeing an awareness in the community of, hey, the Orchard is here for you. We're here to love our community, serve our community. So yeah, there are definitely ripple effects that come out of it. And it's exciting to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, I'm excited for this weekend. It's going to be good. So yeah, so one last thought before we end our time here. A phrase that was mentioned in the beginning of this sermon, and then you hit at the end of service again, was that in order for us to grow as the Little C Church, we just said church, we must grow the church. Tell the listener, how does this tie into serving, into Impact Tomorrow as we're kind of ending this vision series?
Well, I think that, you know, for me, the difference in Little C Church, Big C Church is Little C Church is our local body of believers, right? Big C Church, believers everywhere across time, ethnicities, economic class. You know, that's the Big C Church, the bride of Christ. When we talk about the Little C Church growing, there are, I guess, two ways for that to happen. One is through slick marketing, amazing systems, you know, whatever. I don't know that that's sustainable or healthy. I think that the way the Little C Church grows is when the Big C Church that calls the Little C Church home starts to live like it.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to that same thing. When we live as followers of Jesus, I think that's what we're going to see. You know, is not just the community change, not just our church change, but see our Little C churches begin to grow.
Yeah.
Because look, I may be wrong about this, but I deeply believe that people are hungry for Jesus.
Yeah.
People are hungry for the gospel. They don't know it. They don't see it. I'm not saying that they are out there, you know, living in contradiction to Isaiah, who says we all like sheep have gone astray each our own way. No, I get that. What I'm saying is there are people who in our world have tasted what the world has to offer.
Yeah.
Have tried to find fulfillment, happiness, joy, meaning in so many places and have come up empty. That when they see the gospel on display in the lives of the local church, it is beautiful, it is attractive, it is hopeful, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
And so I believe when we live and grow in our maturity and our spiritual formation as the Big C Church, the Little C churches we call home are going to grow as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and I'm excited to see how our Little C Church is gonna grow. It's gonna be good.
It's good. It's challenging. We've said that.
Yeah.
I found myself saying this a lot lately, Astin, is, man, God's really growing our church. Some things are happening. It's awesome. It is we're out of space.
Yeah.
It is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Right. And 100% it is a good problem. It's still a problem.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's challenging.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge that I think our staff, our teams, the people who call the Orchard home, it's a challenge we're willing to tackle head on with joy.
Yeah.
Because we believe it's worth it.
And that's the key, is with joy. With joy. I'm not feeling like it's an obligation, but I get to do this instead of I have to do this.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
right.
excited.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, this concludes our Vision series, week 3. So yeah, thanks for popping in and chatting with us.
Well, I had to be here for episode 100.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You and the AJ were the
episode 1.
The founding fathers.
We started with Vision series in 2023, I think.
Oh, really?
We just kind of did our first preview podcast. We put it on hold for December and then launched.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Gosh, been a while. It's been 100 episodes worth.
I know. It's exciting. Well, to those of you that have listened today, we say thank you. But I do ask that you would just prayerfully just ask God, if you aren't currently serving, whether you attend the Orchard or not, I would ask you to just pray that God would just show you where you could just be a blessing to your church, maybe take that next step for yourself. And I can guarantee you, whenever you do take that next step, not only do you bless your church, but it ends up affecting you in a really, really good, positive way. So thanks for listening to episode 100. We will be back for episode 101, recapping our Impact Sunday. So until next time, have a great week, and we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together. If you have more questions, thoughts, or feedback, we want to hear from you. Be sure to reach out to us through our social media or visit our website to stay connected. If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Until next time, we hope that this episode inspired you and will keep Sunday's message at the front of your mind. See you next week.